Our next reader is the creator and producer of You're Being Ridiculous. See this on your chair, on your tables. Which has new shows coming up May 16th, 23rd, and 30th at Mary's Attic, just north of here. He has told stories with Lifeline Theater's Filet of Solo Festival, Story Club, Guts and Glory, Solo in the Second City, and The Paper Machete. He's a food writer for Oi Chicago and Gaper's Block, and wants to be Whoopi Goldberg when he grows up. Please give a hand for Jeremy Owens.
If you're any good at being married, and let's face it, I am, then you know a thing or seven about the high art of negotiation. When you first start dating someone, it's simple. You're bargaining mostly with yourself. I'll wear this underwear. I'll call back in 48 hours. I won't poo in his apartment. Once you're really in deep with someone, the challenges are a little more nuanced. It's a slippery slope from, will it be Mexican or Greek for dinner, to, if you give me a foot massage, you can put it in my mouth. What can I say? Relationships are complicated and require a special kind of diplomacy. I decided we were going to get a dog. I do things like that. I occasionally decide. We're vegan, we don't watch TV on Sundays before 5 p.m., we hate Angelina Jolie. There really were like proclamations. I'm swift and definitive. Decision-making within my relationship is both my superpower and my fatal flaw. My decisions rarely make any sense and are mostly designed to keep my husband on his toes. I had no real reason for deciding that we would be dog owners. Andy had not said he wanted a dog, and I had never experienced successful pet ownership. I grew up on a farm. All the dogs that I had growing up were run over by tractors. Hundreds of cats were smashed by cars. The guinea pigs? They froze to death in the garage along with the rabbits. And if I had $1 for every goldfish I flushed down a toilet, I could pay off my student loans. The odds were definitely not in our favor, but c'est la vie. I like to slowly ease my decisions, into our life. I don't want to suffocate my husband with new choices. I'd rather slowly drown him in them before he realizes what's happening. I should probably seek professional help. I started by randomly taking a wrong turn at Target, so that we ended up in the pet aisle shopping for mini doggy tutus. I progressed to pointing out dogs everywhere we went. Oh look, a Labradoodle! Then came my accidental obsession with Cesar Millan, the dog whisperer. Andy wasn't taking the bait, so I stepped up my game with a weekly email campaign. I'd attach random pictures of dogs to emails that I'd send to him, or links to Wikipedia pages for different dog breeds. This is where my push began to get real, concrete responses, and I knew that I had him. We can't get a Jack Russell because it says that they're an energetic breed that relies on high level of exercise and stimulation, and you know we're lazy. He was right, of course. We aren't very active, but where do you find a dog whose favorite activity is watching the Gilmore Girls for hours on end? At this point, I was so exhausted by my insanity that I could have given up and settled for a pet rock, but I was in too deep. My dog would have its day. Instead, I focused my research. Like every good homo with a fondness for stereotypes, I turned to reruns of Sex and the City. When Charlotte found her dog, Elizabeth Taylor, I discovered the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. Wikipedia describes Cavaliers as being excellent lap dogs for medical patients and the elderly. Perfect! A dog for people with bed sores. I had found our match. There was no way that Andy could object to that description. Mission accomplished. Well, except for the part where now I had to actually find one of these little fuckers. You see, Cavalier Cavalier King Charles Spaniels aren't everywhere. They're a candy-ass, fancy gay man's dog. You can't pop down to the ASPCA and pick one up. You've got to work for it. So I scoured the internet. I joined chat rooms, listservs, email associations, neighborhood watches, and bizarre dog clubs. I have OCD. I shook every tree I could find, hoping to find something, and stopped just this side of calling up Betty White. You might be asking yourself, why not a baby? Well, this is where I offer some pretty heavy side eye. We are not having a baby. It feels good to admit that to the universe. Apart from the obvious physiology issues, I don't have a vagina. I can barely manage taking care of myself. I've been known to eat boxes of cookies for lunch and whiskey for dinner, so making a person of my likeness is completely irresponsible. Besides, passing my flatulence and sensitive skin along feels like a crime. This hair is too big a burden for anyone else to manage. A baby made by us or even bought from Malawi is totally out of the question. But a dog, well, that's something else entirely. My work eventually led us to a stranger's front porch. We were there, standing for a moment, dumbfounded. My mind ran its usual unending stream of attack ads. Should we be here? We don't own so much as a houseplant. This dog's gonna be dead in a week. Oh my God, this is happening. You know we're going home with a dog. Shopping for dogs isn't like shopping for pants. There's always a dog that fits. I reached out my hand to ring the doorbell, and Schaumburg's answer to Michelle Duggar threw open the door before we could take a breath. We all froze. I sometimes forget that suburban Chicago and rural Arkansas are about one white sheet away from being the exact same place. This must be what it feels like to use eHarmony. Michelle was not expecting dueling Liberace's on her doorstep, which is fine since I wasn't expecting her 80s perm in 2009. I watched as the burning crosses in her eyes melted into dollar signs, and she relaxed. We were here to buy a dog. We weren't going to force anybody to have fun or watch RuPaul's Drag Race. We were motioned into the house and introduced to the two remaining puppies. This was going to be harder than I thought. How do you choose one over the other? My mind turned to Sophie's choice. Sir, I cannot choose! I cannot choose! I made a mental note to turn off my inner Blanche Dubois and to put my personality on the DL. Andy and I took turns playing with each of the dogs, trying to figure out what to do. I mean, how do you shop for a dog? We certainly had no idea. There was a silly lesson from a 10-year-old on how to train a dog and more small talk than I care to remember. Somewhere in the middle of Michelle's ridiculous list of what she thought we should name our dog, Popcorn, by the way, was her number one choice. I realized that I had miraculously been gifted the right partner. I had gone catatonic the moment we entered the room, and my husband had turned into the world's most charming person. He was performing a Broadway musical for the Duggars in an effort to prove us dog-worthy, while I did my best impersonation of Helen Keller. That's how he works. He picks up where my crazy leaves off. I had worked so hard on making him believe that we needed a dog, and now he was making it happen. Love shows up in the strangest places. Spoiler alert, unlike Meryl, we chose the girl. Anyone see that? The thought of a dog throwing his leg up and marking every inch of our tiny apartment was what finally got us out of Schaumburg. But who knew a squatting piss machine could be just as pleasant? The next several days were full of cursing my name while mopping up urine and picking up poo from every surface in our home. That's the price of parenthood, I suppose. I was scrubbing the kitchen floor and nearly asphyxiated on Clorox fumes when I realized that our dog needed a name. I have no idea how you people name your babies. I've never felt so much pressure in my life. All I knew is I wanted to name our dog after a celebrity so that I could say things like, Hugh Jackman will not stop humping my leg. Or my personal favorite, Oprah Winfrey took a huge dump today at the dog park. We went through all the Golden Girls and the cast of every movie you've ever seen. It was a commercial for Boniva that finally got us to the finish line. Seriously, who doesn't want to spend their life with Sally Field? I'm not someone who grew up dreaming of children. I didn't have a list of names that I would scribble in the back of notebooks. I didn't picture myself playing catch or dress up with a miniature version of myself. I was pretty sure that being gay meant that I was banned from all of that. Anyway, that's what I used to believe. Now I find myself waking up in the middle of the night to make sure Sally is still breathing, or driving across country for vacations so that she can come along. Last summer, I was standing with my husband in DC watching the 4th of July fireworks, with Sally safely crated in our hotel room. All I could think was, what would Sally think of this? Yeah, I've become one of those crazy dog people. At least that's what you might be thinking. Whatever. Having and finding Sally has taught me that I am in charge of building my family and deciding what that looks like. Families come in all shapes and colors and sizes. Mine happens to have 2 dudes and an Oscar-winning dog. You can build yours however you like. That's something each of us has to negotiate. Those early days of poop on the floor seem like a lifetime ago. My days are now filled with the pitter-patter of little doggy feet, and I wouldn't change a thing. I can't imagine our life without Sally Field. That's not something I expected. The older I get, the more I understand that the best things in life aren't. Thanks.